This is going to be about a man in his early 30s. Plays in a rock band. He's worked many jobs over the years. He's going to college, working on his degree, has a girlfriend, gets around on a bicycle, lives in Denver, Colorado.
But I stopped the woman. I said, well, hold on a second. I just got hit by a car. And she was like, what? And she was freaked out. She was astonished. And I told her, I'm having trouble seeing right now.
It's this Biff Life. Of course, each week on our program, we choose a theme, bring you various stories based on that theme. Today, the adventures of Seth Francis Yannacone. Our program today in 6 acts. Act 1, what's in your tub? Act 2, please put away your balls in church. Act 3, beware of the brown projectile. Act 4, bitch please, refrain from running me over. Act 5, when you see a brain on the ground, you pick it up. Act 6, allergic to death. It's going to be a wild ride. Stay with us. Act 1. What's in your tub? For a while, Seth worked as a mover. And apparently, from time to time, you find some pretty naughty stuff that people are wanting moved for you. Here's Seth Yannacone.
It was in the summer, downtown Denver. This girl was moving from a high-rise building to like a house in the Highlands.
And you worked for a moving company.
Yes, I worked for a moving company, moving furniture. So, we're moving her, and one of my cohorts discovers that she has this tub, which is large tub, like
like a plastic tub, like you store stuff in?
Yeah, a large plastic storage tub, and it's pretty heavy. So the driver opens the tub to see what's inside. So he looks inside, and it's filled with dildos, vibrators, like completely filled with them. That's all that was in there. Like plugs and beads and stuff like that. All individually wrapped in airtight Ziploc bags. So we decided that someone was going to be carrying the tub, and they're going to accidentally slip and drop the tub, and the contents of the tub would be exposed to everyone. And that's precisely what happened, right in front of her, and she was very embarrassed. The end.
So what did she say? What did you guys say? Oops? Or?
Yeah, it was just like, oh, I fell. And she got red in the face, and she began picking them up, and then she was like, I got it, I'll get them. And she was just really embarrassed after that. And yeah, that was about it.
Act 2, please put away your balls in church. This story, Seth is horrified as he sees a very important piece of his father hanging in the breeze while attending a church service.
I was probably about 11, 12 years old. Mesa, Arizona. When my parents were still able to physically force me to go to church, so I must have been 11 or 12, because after that they weren't able to physically drag me in there. Summer in Arizona, the weather gets very hot. It's not unusual to not wear things like socks and underwear because those make you feel hotter. But it is unusual to wear really short shorts without your underwear on and go to church like that. That's precisely what my dad decided to do. And this church was dubbed the Warehouse of God by a friend of mine because it was an old warehouse, and they used to make fun of me because I had to go to church. And that's, the Warehouse of God. So we were in the main church service. I'd probably gotten kicked out of youth group or something. And I was with my parents. Church was concluding, and as my dad stands up in his really short khaki shorts with no underwear on, his genitals are just spilling out the side of the shorts. You could see testicles as well as the head of his penis, and I noticed this and I was just terrified, but I wasn't about to say anything. I was just wishing that I was somewhere else. My mother eventually noticed. This is mid-conversation with some other churchgoers. My mother notices, and she kind of puts her hand around my dad's back or shoulder and uses her other hand to tuck his genitals back into his shorts. My dad, meanwhile, it was like nothing even happened. He didn't even look or stop what he's doing or anything.
Didn't notice that somebody had just grabbed his penis.
Yeah, someone had just touched him in the wiener. So that was that.
Did she like give him a kiss? Like, pretend like she was hugging him or something?
Well, she kind of subtly walked up to try to join in to the conversation that was going on when she noticed, and that's when she kind of used one hand around his back and, keeping eye contact with the people that they're talking to, used her other hand to push it back up in. So,
But she was pretty smooth.
she was very smooth, but that was one of the worst things I've ever had to experience, especially in church. So, yeah.
Act 3. Beware of the brown projectile. In this act, a little childhood fun goes wrong, and one of Seth's brothers has to pay the penalty.
So, when we were kids, we used to, it was fun to like moon each other and stuff.
You and your brothers.
Sure, me and my brother, me and my friends, my brother's friends, everyone, they just would moon. Sometimes like surprise moonings, so you would run up and moon them immediately and then run away. And then if you really wanted to get someone, you moon them and fart. And that's obviously really childish and mean. And we were young, like 9, 10 years old. So my brother was coming out of the bathroom, and I decided I would surprise him. And as he's opening the bathroom door, there's me, my sweet white butt cheeks, and I moon him, and I farted. And just as I was farting, he swings the door closed, and a little turd, like, flew with some serious velocity out of my butt and hit the door. And it stuck to the door. It was like a little turd ball. It was stuck to the door. And when my brother noticed this, he starts screaming and yelling. He tells my mom and tells my sister and tells everybody what happened.
Essentially that
That I mooned him, farted, and a piece of turd. There was a projectile turd released from my butt. And it was stuck on the door. And I didn't want to clean it up, but I had to. So. Yeah.
Act 4. Bitch, please refrain from running me over. In this act, an unsuspecting Seth gets hit by a car while on his bicycle.
I'm riding west past Broadway, and I come up to a stop sign. There's a gold Chrysler LeBaron just stopped at the stop sign, not moving. There's a female driver and a male passenger, and they're just sitting there, not indicating that they're planning on going anytime soon. So a good 45 seconds passes, and I decide I'm going to go around them. So I ride around them, I ride to the right on the passenger side, and the instant I get past them, she guns it and turns right into me. She hit my back wheel and me and my leg. I kind of went over the hood into the street. I fell. I hit the side of my head. And I slid all the way into the gutter. I basically slid through the intersection into the gutter. My face is just covered in blood. I think I was knocked out for a second. I was laying there. I couldn't move for like 5 seconds. Someone comes out of their house, asks me if I'm okay. The driver gets out of her car, as well as the passenger, with her phone, getting ready to dial 911. She's like, not really even asking me if I'm okay or anything. Just kind of just standing there, sort of like inconvenienced because she just hit a cyclist. So I get up and I started cussing at her. I was like, how did you not see me? How did you not fucking see me? I know you fucking saw me because I looked at her. I saw her through her mirrors. And I was yelling at her and I was furious. Meanwhile, her male passenger decides to grab my shattered sunglasses off the ground and hand them to me and be like, you dropped these. So I grabbed them and I was like, thanks a bunch. And I fucking chucked them as hard as I could. My head was hurting. My head definitely hit the ground. I told the girl not to call the police. I didn't want to have to get in an ambulance. I didn't want to get a big bill. So I just left. I went to school with my busted up bike and my busted up face. I had 2 shirts on. I was actually late for a psychology study. So I hurried to school. I took one of my shirts off in an attempt to clean my face, but I just covered the shirt in blood and my face was still bleeding and just still looked awful. I threw the shirt in the trash can. I went to my study. And by that time, I was starting to feel lightheaded and I was having tunnel vision. So, oddly, they admitted me into the study. But I stopped the woman. I said, well, hold on a second. I just got hit by a car. And she was like, what? And she was freaked out. She was astonished. And I told her, I'm having trouble seeing right now. I'm having vision problems. And I'm feeling like I've lost my equilibrium. And she was like, well, you need to go to the hospital. We'll give you credit for the study or whatever, but you need to go seek medical attention. I was like, okay, fine. The problem is I didn't have health insurance at the time.
So Seth calls his brother, who's actually an EMT and has some medical training, to seek advice. And brother tells him that basically he probably has a concussion and there's not much a doctor can do for him. So Seth forgoes medical treatment and everything turned out just fine. This is Biff Life. We are now on Act 5 of our program, The Adventures of Seth Yannacone, Act 5. When you see a brain on the ground, you must pick it up. In this story, Seth tells us about his experiences as a mortuary transporter. A little warning to our more sensitive viewers, the story does mention corpses, death, and might be a little graphic. So, listener discretion advised, please.
So I worked for a little over a year for a mortuary transport company. We also did coroner transport calls. So when someone died unexpectedly, accidentally, we were called to the scene to assist the coroner in whatever way they needed, but mainly we were there to remove the body and take it back to the coroner's office so that they could conduct their investigation to figure out how this person died. It was my first week on the job, and I was called to meet a gentleman who worked there as well named Eric, and we were to head east to a small farming town about 30 miles east of there. And so he's basically briefing me on the way, letting me know that we're going to a scene where someone was shot with a shotgun. And it was a 12-gauge shotgun, which can do considerable damage. So I was, getting psyched up, trying to prepare myself for what I was about to see. Again, it was still my first week, and I hadn't seen anything quite like what I was walking into, what we were heading into at 60 miles per hour. We exit I-70 and we head south on a dirt road into a pretty rural area. The closer we got, the more my heart started to race. We saw police lights up on the horizon, and I knew that we were close. As we drove up, we see a paved parking lot on our left that goes into a house, a long driveway, paved blacktop driveway just off of this dirt road, and I could see a corpse on the driveway, laying face down, and you could see his brain. You could the top of his head, the top of his skull was gone. And it was kind of a turning point in this job. It was like I have to decide whether or not I can do this job, and this was going to be the decision maker. So I decided to do it. I decided I was going to do this. So we get out of the car. There's horse flies everywhere. And I'm watching the coroner do their investigation. And the coroner has the police roll this man onto his back. As they roll him onto his back, his brain literally falls out of his head and onto the pavement, onto the blacktop. I couldn't look away. I watched the whole thing. I was just astonished. It was unbelievable. And so, eventually it was our turn to go and put this man in a body bag and transport him back to the coroner's office. So I get a really good look at him. There's a large black hole under his chin where he had put the 12 gauge. He shot himself under the chin. And then his head was like an empty shell. Like, you could see all the way into it. You could see his spine. And so I was ordered to pick up the brain and put it in a plastic bag. And so I did it, and it was unbelievable. I had this man's brain in my hands, and it was really squishy. Like, brains look like they should be spongy and firm, but they're not. They're almost like they're very gelatinous. They're really squishy.
Like pudding.
A little thicker than that, because they do hold their shape. They're almost like if you took like a lot of bubble gum and chewed it up really good and made a huge ball of bubble gum and let it sit out in the sun and kind of melt. That's the best way I could describe the texture of a human brain.
Act 6. Allergic to death. In this final bit, Seth Yannacone tells us a story about almost dying from getting some routine allergy shots.
So, where do I begin? It was July of this year, July of 2013. I was scheduled for rush immunotherapy shots. So the rush is when they basically give you a shot every half hour for 8 hours for 2 days consecutively to get your immunotherapy concentrations to maintenance. So basically they give you shots of things you're allergic to. They inject shots into your arm in hopes that you have an immune response to build up your immunity against these things you're allergic to. They start out with low concentrations, and they move up, and they move up, and they move up. There's 3 different ways you could do it. The rush, like I just described. You can do cluster, which is an accelerated version, but not as accelerated as rush. And then there's just the regular schedule, which is once a week or so until you're up to maintenance. And this can take years. So the rush is attractive because you can get it done in 2 days. So we got there in the morning. Rita, my girlfriend, was with me. And everyone was really calm. Everyone was really cool. It's like people do this all the time. There were multiple people in there that day getting the same exact shots that I was getting. And so we started. They make you blow into a tube to get your peak flow to see, your lung capacity. So I did that, and then we went. They started out 1 shot in each arm, and they do that in 30-minute increments. So the shots are going along. We're in approximately hour 2 of the shots. And I noticed that the nurse is just running around like a chicken with her head cut off. She's not really with it. She looked like she hadn't slept in weeks. And she was just doing too many things at once. By the 4th or 5th shot, I was starting to feel really strange. A way that I've never felt before. It's hard to really describe it. Like lightheaded, just almost like disconnected, just a really strange feeling. then I noticed that she may have given me shots in 15-minute increments rather than 30-minute increments. And I don't know whether or not that even makes a difference. I would think it does. Around 12:30 p.m., they brought me my lunch, taco salad, vegetarian taco salad with no cheese or any of the other things I'm allergic to. So it was lettuce and beans in some soupy concoction and maybe like a soy meat substitute. As I'm eating, the lightheadedness and just the really strange feeling is increasing. And then I get this pain right behind my sternum, right behind the bottom of my sternum. This is a pain like there's a baseball stuck in my sternum, or stuck behind my sternum. And then I vomited. I was able to grab a trash can. I vomited into the trash can. Like a really intense, like sometimes when you're vomiting, it's like you feel it coming up, and then it releases. This just like shot out of me. Now I vomit again, and it came out even faster that time. And then I remember falling back in my chair, and that's all I remember. That's when I went blank. I lost consciousness, and Rita told me that my eyes rolled into the back of my head, and this bean chili taco salad mix was slowly flowing out of my nose and mouth. So I woke up. They hit me with epinephrine. Gave me a shot of epinephrine in my leg. I woke up. I saw vomit all over my shirt, all over everywhere. I couldn't breathe. It felt like I was looking through a tunnel. I could not breathe. And it was like I was trying to speak. I was unable to speak. I was unable to breathe. I thought I was gonna die for sure. It was a near-death experience. A few seconds went by. It felt like minutes. It felt like a half hour went by, but it was just a few seconds. And I was better, I guess. I wasn't dead. I was able to breathe. They gave me a nebulizer and an IV and slowly nursed me back to life. They were all shocked. They said they'd never seen a reaction like that, and they weren't prepared for it. I was actually really fortunate that the doctor was there. Before the episode, I told the nurse how I was feeling, that I wasn't feeling well, and things were feeling strange. So she called the doctor, and the doctor arrived just in time. The doctor arrived just as I began vomiting. I remember everyone was really panicked. Rita was freaked out. She was crying, and she just looked terrified. The doctor stabilized the situation. It took about a week for me to feel normal again. I was feeling really, really fatigued and ill for about a week
Well, our program today was produced by Seth Yannacone and myself. Distributed by biffnet.com. Management oversight for our program by our boss, Mr. Joe Danneron, who actually did absolutely nothing to help us produce this particular podcast. He was just telling me about shooting one of his mini firearms out at the shooting range.
Everyone was really calm. Everyone was really cool. It's like people do this all the time. There were multiple people in there that day getting the same exact shots that I was getting.
For the band Biff and BiffMan.com, I'm Dave Peterson. Be sure to tune in next time for more stories from this Biff Life.